fast, fatal heart impact. Past painful scars, in fact, I blast tasteful bars and past. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, whenever we last left off with this series, a lot has happened for Izuku. Deku, yeah. Whenever he was getting up this morning, he didn't understand or know what to think. He discovered his entire species. They are almost entirely identical to the engineers. There was no way to comprehend that. There's no rational reaction to finding out an alien species not only could have wiped out your planet, but they're essentially genetic cousins of humanity. Or not even really cousins. They're closer than that. They're almost a sibling species. But yet, they chose to wipe out humanity. Deku, he learned that fact. And it was hard. Deku decided to go hunting with Aki, and the two of them, they woke up next to each other after a long night of drinking, talking, and fighting, and they found out quite a bit. Aki found out that Deku is a strong hunter, and that has attracted her interest. Well, Deku, he's discovering that, well, Aki, she's looked down on by other Yautja, and many people had higher expectations for her. She seems to be a lot more like a human. Not in size or stature, but because of the way she expresses herself. She seems to have actually used the muscles in her face to not look so cold, to look somewhat happy, and dare I even say, embarrassed. Now, with that out of the way, we do actually have 2 weeks after this happened. Deku, he's been trying to get more things prepared for himself. And he still does have the question linger in his mind. And right now we do actually have where there's a knock on the door, and a scientist in a lab coat, and with safety goggles, does go walking over. Them going to open the door, and go to say they don't have time for any more ridiculous questions. They're not that kind, them trying to see Deku. Doctor. You're a scientist, aren't you? Yes, yes. Hello, you must be... Mr. Scarsfine. Scar, yes, sir. Scar, sir. The scientist backing away. Whenever Deku did just go to bring his hand up on the door and push past. Him going to get a look from many people who were in the room. As whenever they looked up for a split second, you could have mistaked them for a Yautja. Since Deku, he's wearing armor, his chest is mostly exposed, and he has a predator mask along with a fucking cannon next to his head. It took the scientist a minute to realize he was a human. However, once they did, they were curious. They'd never seen a human wearing this type of stuff. They weren't even well aware it was even allowed. And right now they're all kind of confused. Especially because they've been requesting for years to get an access to not only the mask, but the plasma caster on Deku's shoulder. They have been just so fascinated and curious by the tech. Yes, they're able to study older Yautja tech. But even by then, that stuff far surpasses anything humanity has in their hands. Humans, they're given certain items, but that's mainly because they're curious as to what they can do. They know that certain humans are some smart and very educated people. They're aware of most certain things in not only genetic levels, But even at the microscopic, it's just kind of interesting. They want to know if humans can help their research. And while originally the project was seen as not a good idea, there was actually something a human did make once. And the Yautja, they've sort of tried experimenting with the concept. Whenever they were able to do it, and it was much more effective and efficient, they decided to keep the humans around, since they're basically just farming ideas from them. And you do actually have where some people, they run up to Izuku and immediately request to be able to examine his technology. As one of our Deku is going to bring his hand up, and everyone does stop and freeze. Alright, perfect. Now, Deku, going to say, hey, I'm going to grab a disc on his side and go to bring it up. Whenever he does press the button down and a hologram pops up, all of them, they do look at it. As whenever they do somewhat move backwards, they all recognize exactly what type of creature that looks like. Creatures that give those very scientists not only a curiosity and intrigue them very much, but they've never heard of this type of creature. As Deku says the words Xenomorph Queen. What the? I'm gonna go hunt down one of these big old sons of bitches. And I was curious to know what any of you at all could come up with. I need grenades. I need... fuck it, I need a jetpack. I need gear. And I'm curious. Do any of you have anything that's acid proof? I'm willing to spitball. All of them just staring at each other for a second. As the realization that Deku, a seemingly normal human to them, is going to go hunt down one of these things. Some of them start laughing. And you do actually have one person who, they weren't laughing because they saw the look in Deku's words, if you do want to say it like that. You might not be able to see the eyes behind the mask, but the seriousness behind those words, it was unshakable. The person just staring at Izuku. As, while everyone is laughing, Deku he just go to bring his hand up and go to crush the piece of metal in his hand. As all of them they do hear the electrical circuits and everything just go zap. And Deku he does just go to turn his hand down and go to open it up. As 3 pieces fall into the ground. And one looks like if you emptied a container full of liquid. And that container just so happened to be like a metal can, and you could just squeeze it. That was scary to them. And it just, well, let's just say, they stopped laughing. Now, many of them, they immediately just go back into a bit more of a cowardly demeanor. As whenever Deku, he does ask the question, what type of tech have they been developing, you do actually have one person that's going to bring their hand up. As Deku, he just look towards them. Them putting their hand back down before going to turn, saying that they've actually made something kind of interesting, and they're actually wondering if he might be able to field test it. Field test? Yes, field test. It's somewhat of a very simple but complicated mechanism. I mean, granted, I've asked people to test it or, well, help me with it before, but I never really thought anyone would get a chance, you know? Deku looking at the weapon, as he does look down at it before going to bring his hand down and go to bring it up. As whenever he does examine it, he does go to look down it. Your sights are off. What? Your sights, they're off. I'm sorry, I could adjust them. I think, let's see, 32, no, 38. Turn it 38 degrees. Them kind of confused. As they do go to set the weapon back down, they do look exactly what Deku did see. As they're a little bit more impressed, where they do go to make Deku's adjustments, and then Deku does go to at least grab onto it and look down the barrel again. Alright, perfect. How did you group around all types of guns? You get to know exactly how they work. All you gotta do is listen. Deku going to look down the sight again before actually going to bring his hand up, and going to pull off his mask before going to set it down. All of them seeing Deku's face, as it wasn't what they expected. Deku, he's a Japanese man, and he's got facial hair and, well, a bit more of a rugged look to him. He's even got a large scar across his face. Granted, they could see many already on his body, but the fact that that's there, it shows he's had a lot of experience. And he's gotten pretty close to someone with a knife. As Deku, he does inform them. He's gonna go test this outside real quickly. And if any of them they do want to watch, I'm going to turn around and walk out the door, seeing that they can follow him. As whenever they do find out exactly what Deku meant by outside, they're a bit more curious, since they basically just follow Deku outside the fence and test the weapon. Deku doing this with many of the things the scientists they've made before. Granted, their weapons are now getting some final or actual use, and they can make adjustments to what they do see fit. However, many of them are curious by what Deku means by gadgets or items, and Deku does try to explain. Okay, here's what a xenomorph is, here's what the xenomorph queen should predictively be, and here is what he's fighting. All of them basically hearing about how Deku, he's gonna have to be a literal one-man army, along with even his companions, since what he's going up against sounds impossible. And after at least much deliberation, and people getting to work on the tech Deku does ask for, you do actually have the day where the humans and the Yautja, their time's up. Now, Deku and his crew, they need to go on a hunt. Their xenomorph queen, or their trophy, she's been set to work. She was put on the planet some time ago, and she does even have her newborns already done. They are released and set to grow, and Deku and his team, they need to hunt her down fast. Otherwise, you risk the planet she's on becoming infested. Now, with that, we do actually have for Deku, he did go to the Elder Yautja, and the old man, he did at least hear Deku's request to use human technology. The old man, yeah. Their Yautja tech is far more advanced than the human technology. Deku, if you didn't want to compare it to something, he's basically requesting, instead of taking a machine gun or just a regular modern day weapon and trading it for what's essentially a musket. It just seems so laughable to them. And they did at least inform Deku that he can take two of those items, since, while it is older tech it's modeled after, it is still seemingly more advanced than a knife. And Deku, he did at least understand what the guy did mean, since humans, they're dabbling in things that the Yautja, they fully understand. Meanwhile, to them, it's seemingly almost magical. It has an explanation, they just haven't figured it out yet. No. With that being said, Deku, he took two of the items. As some of the scientists who were watching Deku leave, they were a bit more exhilarated. They were wondering what he was going to take, since they wanted to see him walk onto that ship with all of their tech. However, Deku dropped some of it and walked on. The people who had their tech with Deku, they felt excited. They're helping. Meanwhile, the ones who were just staying there, they felt a bit more insulted. Now, with that, Deku, whenever he does walk into the ship, he does sit down. And after at least staring at a few of the Yautja that are on the ship, he does actually at least turn to Vasia, and she does ask her, why are they all keeping their heads up like that? and why have they been walking with their heads down? And you do actually have Aki, who does somewhat turn to Izuku. And without saying it through the, well, let's just say voice comms, she at least does tell him. Right now, everybody on this ship, everybody except for them, they are all honorable. They have elite predators all around them, along with the Elder. And they are all going to be watching their performance. And Deku, after hearing that, he does at least go to stare to Yautja. As you do actually have Vasya, who she does at least go to knock some sense into Deku. Whenever he was actually at least holding his gaze for more than a minute, she did go to grab him. Her somewhat going to grab him by his shoulder and shake him. As Deku did go to turn back to her, and she did just go to shake her head, no. And Deku, he couldn't help but think, those guys are insane. They've got to be literal legends. An elite predator from the way they're saying it. Yes, Aki, she's, well, a bit more fearful of that. She's got to be probably just amazed right now. It's like if you met your own hero. These guys are just that. They're just insane. And there's Vasya. If she is afraid to look these guys in the face, that says something. She is a lot more proud. She's a lot more out there. But clearly she still knows right now is not the time to pull any of that. These men would just knock her back in line. These men and women, they're all crazy powerful. And that's something that Deku, he does at least recognize. As he does at least go to look down for most of the way. And some of the elite predators, they don't show it, but they did at least go to look towards Deku, since it appears that he finally understands why they're here. Now, with that, Deku and his crew, they're released onto the planet, as they are given orders. The Elder informing them as they were about to drop onto a ship that their target, she, will be somewhere around the surrounding 500 miles. And if they are to capture her and kill her and bring back her head, they will be awarded with whatever they so want. Along with that, their rank will actually go up. Deku looking directly at the Elder, surprised. As the man, he does go to bring his hand up, saying that, however, if they are picked up after the hunt, and they do not have the head, they will be struck down to the rank of a blood warrior, and many of their weapons and gadgets will be removed, along with even some honor that they have. They would be tainted. And Deku does hear that, as the Elder does inform them of the time limit, and Deku and his crew, they leave. And Deku does find it to be intriguing, as you do have where they're down on the planet. Deku, whenever he does land and get out, he does go to take a, analysis of the air. And he does find out that it's somewhat based on the same premise as Earth, or the other planets. It seems interesting. Deku at least having a bit more readings done before going to bring his hand up and take off his mask. Now, Deku, whenever he does go to bring his hand up, both the two Yautjas do stare at him. As Deku, whenever he does at least hear a beep, he does go to bring it up and off his face. Him taking a deep breath before letting one out, and informing both of them that it appears that his calculations were right. What is it? Well, let's see. The planet has a 1.2 times gravity increase. Basically, the gravity here is at least a little bit tougher than Earth. Along with that, it does seem like that's affected the atmosphere somewhat. Really? Yeah, some of the molecules are foreign to Earth, but overall it seems close. I don't understand. Deku is going to say that he feels this weird bitter taste, and it feels like it's somehow wrong. Hmm? Not surprising, considering where we are. I I know that, but still. Anyways, we don't have time to talk. We need to go hunt that xenomorph down. Now, you do actually have where they do start to walk. And whenever they do start running, they eventually do encounter some xenomorph. And they do start to get crazy. As I do believe that is a good point to leave this part off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. Now, let's have a xenomorph hunting episode for the next part.